yourself to Russia. I guess that was a big thing back then. Okay, so now we continue with our have a good night, Dave. We continue in our klal, uprat, klal, ribui, miyut, ribui. After tonight, then we get into a lot of geshmaka sugis of kashrus, and then haircuts, shaving, a lot of geshmaka sugis. Okay, so so basically, I'll remember to do the haktama. All right, so basically, right now we're going to have a repeat of the previous Gemara of exactly how we're learning out the klal, uprat, klal. Right, then on Amud Beis, we're going to try and learn out how, meaning the most common is klal, uprat, klal. That we paskin like. Some also darshan ribui, miyut, ribui, or miyut, ribui, miyut, whichever way you go with it. Some also paskin that. So right here we have a machlokes, right? We had machlokes of Elazar and the Rabanan, whether you darshan in klal, uprat, klal, or ribui, miyut, ribui. So the Gemara is going to try and discuss where the Manda Amr that says ribui, miyut, ribui, where does he know klal, uprat, klal? So basically, where the Amud Aleph is going to be all about where we know klal, uprat, klal from, and then the Gemara on Amud Beis is just going to discuss the differences between klal, uprat, klal, uprat, miyut, ribui, ribui, miyut. That sounds more confusing than it is, but it's not. I don't think it's that difficult. So we're up to Amar Mar, 5 wide lines down, or 6 lines up from the bottom. Yeah, on Lamed Alam Beis. So Amar Mar, Ima prat mefurish pri gomor. Right, if you're going to say it again, let's just chazer just to get onto the same page, right? The pasuk says that a nazir is not allowed to have wine, vinegar, and sheikhar, and different specifics, and then it says chol mishras anovim. So that's a prat. Then it says chol mishras anovim, anything from grapes. That's a klal. That's a rule. That's a blanket rule. Right. So again, first it gives you some specifics of grape products. Then it says a blanket rule, and then it goes and then it says chartzanim and zag and chartzanim, which are specific from grapes. So the question is, why is the Torah saying it that way? And what's it coming to include? What's it coming to exclude? So we're having a machlokes whether it's a klal, uprat, klal, or a ribui, miyut, ribui, which really in this case it's a prat, klal, prat, and miyut, ribui, miyut. And so far, and it's going to be different at the end of the sugi, but so far the only difference between the two opinions is whether a nazir is allowed to eat the branches and the vines of the grapes. According to the Madam, it says klal, uprat, klal, he's allowed to have it because it gets excluded because it doesn't compare to the prat. According to the Madam, it says ribui, miyut, ribui, then he's not allowed to have the grapes, the grapevines, or the lulavim, whatever that is. But according to all opinions, these soft wood things, which we weren't exactly sure what they were, those he is allowed to have for sure, according to all opinions, because that's not comparable. Okay, so let's see. So Amar, Ima prat mefurish pri gomer. Right? So we said that maybe the prat is saying that it's a specific complete fruit, meaning a ripe fruit. Afko pri gomer. So meaning only things that are fully ripe on the vines are not allowed to be eaten by the nazir. So Amrit, you're going to say imkain mani achakazim mashmoy shelo yomrei. If that's what you're saying, then that includes everything, right? Anovim lachim b'yaveshim, right? If you're going to say fresh, I guess that's how you say, right? Lachim, not ripe, right? Ripe and dry, right? Hoksivi, right? That says it, beferish. Yain b'chaymet, you're going to say it's coming from wine and bigger. Haksiva, it also says that. Meaning, what is your prat coming to include / exclude if it already says other pratim there? So don't go with the second lashon, which means that it's only ripe fruit. It just say fruit. And since we're going to include anything that has to have any sort of remote connection to fruit is going to be included under the grapes. So then why does it say chartzanim v'zag? Right? See, either chartzanim and zag is either the skins of the grapes or the seed. Right? That we said is a machloikis. But either way, why does the pasuk have to specify those two? So Gemara said, what it's coming to tell you, it's coming to teach you a rule that anytime it says a prat and a klal, like it does here, it says a few things about grapes that you're not allowed to have, and then it says a blanket rule of anything coming from grapes. So you cannot stretch it out to don it, anything that's similar to the prat. The reason why it says the rule after it says the specifics is until it has mefarad to you again on Tamid Beis, like it said by Nazir, chatzan v'zag. Right? Meaning, so basically what it is, it's a prat, because it said all the specifics. Then it said a straight rule, and then it said another prat. So that tells you that only fruits that are similar to the pratim are included. Yeah? Fine. Okay, so that's a repeat of how we're dashing it. So then the Gemara says the Elazar ben Azarya, the kamoikim lahai mechatzana v'zag loimer. We said on Amud Aleph that Elazar ben Azarya had an interesting din. In the Mishnah, Elazar ben Azarya held that a Nazir is not chayiv until he has two grape seeds and one grape skin. Right? Loimer she'ena chayiv ad sheyochel beis chatzana v'zag. What it's coming to tell you is that you're not chayiv until you eat two seeds and one skin. So meaning we're saying now that we're darshaning the extra words chatzanim and zag to tell you that limits the rule of the klal of Nazir, right? But Rabbi Elazar ben Azarya doesn't have that because he's learning something out from those two words totally. Rabbi Elazar ben Azarya says that the reason why it says chartzanim plural and zag is to teach us that in order to be chayiv on these things, you need to eat two seeds. Right? It's like shalach modis. You need to have two seeds and you have to have a skin. So he has a good reason for that. So pratam.
That means chayiv for nazirus. If he had less than that, he would not be over on his nazirus.
Correct.
Okay.
That's the chiddush of Rabbi Elazar ben Azarya.
Okay.
All right. So, but he has a chiddush from it. So then it's not available to learn. Yeah.
The chiddush is that he's over just by having that. It's pachas mikashir.
Well, okay, that's another way, right? It's two chidushim. One is that he needs to have two seeds and one skin, and the other chiddush is yes, it does not have to have. Yes, that's a good. That reminds me, we have to discuss something about that. But
so the first chiddush is that he can have 3 kazesim of skins, and he's palter as long as he doesn't have.
Correct. If he does not have the seeds, he's according to Rabbi Elazar ben Azarya, he has to have 2 seeds, 1 skin. Otherwise, why did the Torah say chartzanim plural and zag? Right? It's a wild chiddush, right? But either way, he doesn't have anything to darshan. He doesn't. There's no prat there. Then, so Gemara answers because Savala Rabbi Elazar the darsh miyut v'riba. The reason why is because he doesn't go with klal or prat or klal. He goes with miyut v'riba. So miyut v'riba doesn't need that extra prat. Viva is saying the Rabanan, or he can go like the Rabanan that he does say klal or prat or klal. These are Rabbi Elazar ben Azarya. If you're going to think that it's just like Rabbi Elazar ben Azarya says that you have to have 2 seeds and a skin, why didn't it move? Why did the pasuk say the pratim right? Like vinegar and grapes, and then the rule of no grape products, and then goes chartzanim and zag. Why didn't he put chartzanim and zag before the rule? So l'mayil is a kasvei basar klal. Why did they put it after the klal? So it's coming to the reason why it's doing is because we want to be able to darshan klal uprat. Right? So the Gemara says, okay, right? Maybe why is Rabbi Elazar ben Azarya darshaning chartzanim and zag for his own chiddush that has to be 2 seeds in the skin? Why don't we just say that he's coming to meaning who says, so he's saying you're darshaning it for klal uprat klal and for the 2 seeds. Who says you can do that? So it says imkein lichtoiv oishnei chartzanim oishnei zagim. Why didn't the Torah say plural for chartzanim and plural for zagim? Oy chartzin v'zag, or singular. The ma'achos the cousin Rahmanim me chartzanim ba'ad zag. Why do you use such a unique terminology? Chartzanim plural and zag 1 singular. Shma mino the midrash be klal uprat. So it's the darshan the klal uprat. V'yikanami l'midrash be atziyach shnei chartzanim v'zag. Then so therefore it gives him permission to darshan 2 things. So basically, Elazar ben Azarya is darshaning 2 things from chartzanim and zag. One, the reason why I put it after the rule, after the klal, is to teach you klal uprat klal, or prat klal uprat. And why did he use this strange terminology of one word meaning chartzanim is plural and zag is singular? Why do you use that terminology? Right? So Elamai, it's coming to teach you that because you dafka need to eat in order to be chayiv, for another chayiv, you need to eat 2 seeds and 2 seeds, 1 skin. Right? Now, just getting back to what you were saying, Rabanan, that so there is. So we were saying, and we'll get more into this tomorrow's daf as Hashem in the next day's daf. But the Ma'is was saying that normally an achila is a revius. In order to be chayav on any achila in the Torah, you need to eat a revius, right? But there's something called beria, right? Which is if you eat an entire entity of one thing, then there are many pesukim that say you don't need a revius, right? So meaning if you eat one, like normally in order to make a bar in the fashas or a ala eights on a grape.
Revius or kazayas?
Well, kazayas, I'm sorry. Well, for liquid, it's a revius, but you're not going to have it. I'm mixing up because we said that it could be it's a revius and a kazayas. But yes, thank you, doctor. I meant the kazayas. Meaning if you have a bunch of grapes, so they combine to, I don't know how many grapes, depending on the size, would you need a kazayas to make a bracha achrayna. But there are shitas that hold that once you have 1 grape, since it's a beria, therefore it's already chayiv it's a chayiv in a bar in a fashas or a bracha achrayna, regardless of the size. Right? So there's the whole shaila. What about a pomegranate seed? Right? Is a pomegranate seed a beria, or is that just part of? Is its own individual thing? Right? Naftali Liner asked us on Friday.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's
Yes, what?
that's a shaila.
Could it be considered
Naftali asked it about when you have a salad that has pomegranate seeds.
right? And people also buy cups of them to eat them.
Right.
I don't understand what he asked. What's the question?
If you eat a salad of pomegranate seeds, right? So you have to make an ala eights because pomegranate seeds is shivas aminim, right? But you didn't have a shear. You didn't have a shear.
If you eat a whole salad of it, you had a shear. No.
It could be.
No, it's mixed in the salad. It's a 2 tablespoons or a tablespoon mixed in the salad. Is what I asked. You have a few of them. You're not having kazayas of it. There's no shaila if you have a kazayas of it. I was asking, is it considered a beria? A grape, if you have 1, you have a whole shaila if you make.
Yeah.
Unpacking.
Okay, but that's a shaila. So we don't. That's why people stay away. That's why people stay away from having just 1 beria. There's a story where Rav Steinman, he came to America, he ate a half a grape. So they asked him, like, he probably
was full.
He probably was. That's what they thought. But then he told them, now maybe he was pulling their leg. That he said he didn't want a shiloh, a bracha achrayna, so he only had half a grape. But yeah, fine. Okay, so that's basically that's we have the machloikis, whether we say klal or uprat or klal, ribui miyut ribui, and fine. So now the Gemara goes with basics of, I guess if we understood this would be considered basics for Shas, for knowing Rabbi Shmuel Loimer, right? But okay, we'll try and understand. It's not that hard. It's just when and how they darshan klal uprat or klal is a little bit difficult to understand how they apply it. That's really what it is. Rabbi Elazar, the darish miyut beriba prat. I'm sorry, the Rabbi Elazar, the darish miyut beriba. According to Rabbi Elazar, who darshans miyut beriba prat uklal uprat minole. How does he know klal prat uklal uprat? So it's very interesting. Tosfos discusses this. He says, who says he has to hold of klal uprat uklal? Right? We know that everybody knows klal uprat uklal gets good coverage because of Rabbi Shmuel Loimer. But that's Rabbi Shmuel's shita. Right? There's others that are chaylik on him and say you don't darshan klal uprat uklal, you darshan miyut ribui miyut. Right? So Tosfos is saying, how do you know? How do you know? I mean, the Gemara is assuming that Rabbi Elazar is also going to darshan klal uprat uklal or prat uklal uprat, whichever, they're interchangeable. Right? So Tosfos basically answers. He says every time the Gemara says a klal uprat uklal, it should say, and according to Rabbi Elazar, who doesn't darshan klal uprat uklal, how does he learn it out? So since the Gemaras don't say that throughout Shas, so it must be that Rabbi Elazar holds he could darshan prat uklal uprat. Right? Yeah, fine. So that's what the Gemara is asking. How does Rabbi Elazar know? It's Amar Avo, Nafkale Mehaikra. He learns it out from this pasuk. Now this is from 2 weeks ago's parsha. Yeah, it's a pella. I sat here the entire afternoon learning. The kids are home since 4:30. Not one sound in this room. Start the daf and they come flying in here. It's unbelievable. Anyways. That's what I'm saying. We just have to fight the Yitzhar out together. That's what I'm saying. But anyways, okay. So Amar Avo, Nafkale Mehaikra. So this we had in 2 weeks ago's parsha Mishpatim. We have shomer, right? So a guy has to be a shomer. If he's a shomer, so the shomer chinam, shomer sacher, right? So it says v'chiyitein ish ariyehu chamor oishar oiseh. It says if a person gives to his friend a chamor or a shar or a seh, so what do you call it? A donkey. A shor is an ox, and it says sheep. That's a prat, right? That means it sounds like this whole din of shomer, meaning a guy gives his friend animals to watch, and he doesn't watch it correctly, etc., etc. What he's chai for, what he's not chai for. That's the whole parsha, right? So it starts off that he gave him specific animals. He either gave him a chamor, a shor, or a seh. Then it says b'chol behema. That's including all behemoths, right? Lishmar. But then it says lishmar, only to watch it. Right? So chazru prat, that comes to tell you a prat. Yeah. So now we have prat uklal uprat. Iatadon elokeina prat. So you only done it similar to what the prat is. Right? So now basically what we're saying is that since it said specific animals, then it said any animal. Then it went back and said you have to watch it. So we learn out that it's a prat and a klal and a prat, right? Which basically will tell us that only things that are similar to the prat are included in this whole din of shmira, right? So now you have to say, okay, so what's the similarity? See, this is where it gets a little confusing. So only things that are similar to the prat. Okay, in which way is the prat? The prat can be thousands of variables, right? It could be maybe the brown, it has only brown skin. Maybe it has white skin. Maybe it has, I don't know, horns, not horns. Maybe it means if it's a year old or 2 years old or 3 years old. You could, it's unlimited. What you could say is similar to the prat. So basically the Gemara B'Metzias says it, is that it's coming to exclude karka and avodim. Right? Because animals are movable and they're alive, and that's the prat. That's what's saying. Anything similar to that, so then you have the dinim of being shomer. So that means utensils, right? utensils are included because you just like you can move animals, you can move utensils, right? But anything else not. So that's up to the Chachamim to decide what's included in the prat. But whatever it is, that's where Elazar knows the rule of prat or klal of prat. Rava Amar. Rava has a different place. Nafkalei mehai kroi learns that from this pasuk. And this pasuk is talking about what type of animals qualify for a korban oila. It says ve'im min, and if it comes from, that's a prat, right? Meaning it could have just said ve'im tzon korbanoi, right? It says what's ve'im min, right? So it's giving you specific types. If it's from, tzon means I think we touch tzon as sheep, right? But clearly here it means not cattle. It means animals, right? Kvasim ve'izim, and then it says sheep and goats. Chazer uprat. So that's prat uklal upral. Prat uklal uprat. Yatadon elokein prat. Right? Right. So basically, and what do we learn out from that? That we learn out from that any animal that was used for what do you call it? Bestiality is out, right? If I think avodah zara also, right? Yeah, anything having to do with avodah zara and bestiality is out. That's what we're learning is similar to that. Okay, so those are the two places. Some of the Rav Yehuda made this girl the Rava of the Leila min hadin kro. Why didn't he learn that from a different pasuk, earlier pasuk? Min is prat, habehema, right? So habehema is klal, right? Again, min we're learning out. It means prat, right? And habehema is a klal, and bakar vatzain chazer uprat, prat uklal uprat. Yatadan elokein uprat. So why can't you learn it from there? Some relate, hold it back. Min hai lekal mashmir. From here you can't get any mashmayos. Dime hasam, right? Because if you're going to learn it out from the if Rav Elazar is going to learn it out from those pesukim, hamamina habehema, you could say that when it says the word habehema on Talmud Beis now, chaya bechlal behema. Maybe a chaya is included in a behema, right? So maybe you're going to say that all animals are not allowed to be brought, right? So therefore, because you could say a chaya, people just say behemoths, they can include chaya in it. So therefore, we can't learn it out from there. So it says, Amar lei, chaya b'chlal behema. Are you really going to think that chaya is included in behema? Haksiv bakar v'tzayin. But it says bakar and tzayin, right? That's not chayas. V'avalei prat uklal. V'yatadan elokein prat, right? It's a prat of klal, and we only done it in the prat. Fine, okay. So that's. So we're he basically could learn it out from that pasuk, right? Okay. Then the Gemara says, "Minolan tahachihu." How do you know that you're allowed to do this, right? Meaning, where do you know that you're marba when you say klal uprat or klal, that you say that it comes to include anything that's similar to the prat? Right? Who says that you're allowed to darshan that way? So we say the Tanya goes on to the Brisa. This is talking about maaser sheni. So what you do with maaser sheni is on the what do you call it on the how does it go? The fourth, the first year, first, third, fourth, and fifth, right? Not maaser sheni is first, not the first.
First, second, fourth, fifth.
Is it first, third, and the sixth?
Third and sixth is maaser
Right.
ani.
Yeah, right. Third and the sixth goes to the aniyah. First, second, fourth, fifth. Thank you. Go to is maaser sheni. So basically, maaser sheni is you take your crops. You have to schlep them up to Yerushalayim to eat them there, but it's a big pain to do that. So what you do is you're paid it. You take your money and you usually put it onto coins, right? But the pasuk says when asata kesef, you take the money, right? and you could do whatever you want. Once you get to Yerushalayim with your money, let's say you have like 100 bushels of apples. So you put it on to $100, let's say. Now you bring your $100 up to Yerushalayim. What can you spend that $100 on? Right? You can't spend it on video games. At least that's what we're going to maybe learn from this klal, uprat, klal. Right? So it says, it says you can pay for whatever you want. Right? Then it says bakar, tzan, wine, and what we touch shecher, it doesn't mean beer, it means like old wine. So that's a prat. Right, so that's your classic klal, uprat, klal. The pasuk tells you you can redeem it for whatever you want. Then it says it's got to be for bakar and tzan, wine and old wine. So that's a prat. Then it goes and says again, whatever your nefesh asks for, it's a klal. Klal, uprat, klal. The klal, uprat, klal is only done only the prat. Now this prat is wild. This prat is hard to understand. So what would you say is a prat? Right, again, there's four things. There was a klal that you could spend on whatever you want. Then there was a prat, which said what? Bakar is cattle, tzan is sheep, wine, and old wine. And then it says another klal. So basically we're saying you could only redeem your money for things that are similar to bakar, tzan, yain, shecher. So what is that? Mara prat, befurish pri, mi pri. What it means, it's fruit from fruit, bigedule karka, and it grows from the ground. That's what the Chachamim decided is the similarities, the common denominator of those four things. Afkol pri, mi pri, gedule karka. So anything that is from a pri and gedule karka. So what does pri, mi pri mean? So the way the Tosfos says it is that pri means that they uribui, they multiply, right?
Reproduce.
Yeah, that's the word. Thank you. They reproduce. That's one thing. They have to reproduce, and it has to be gedule karka, means that they grow from the ground, from grass, which the Gemara is going to extend to mean animals. Why? Because animals eat grass. So mamela, they're called from the ground. To me, in my puny little brain, that is a very broad definition of a prat. Right? I mean, if it was up to me, I would say, okay, anything similar to bakar and tzan, okay, so that gives me animals. And wine and old wine. Right? What about birds? Would a bird be included in that? So we're going to say that it is, because birds reproduce and they eat grass. Right? I'm not so sure. I would have thought that that's similar to those four. Right? Okay, but that's what the Gemara is saying. So that's where you get the klal, uprat, klal, meaning as opposed to fish. Fish, you are not allowed to take your maaser sheni money and buy fish with it in Yerushalayim. That you're not allowed to do. Right? Because fish are not gedule karka, even though they do reproduce. Right? That's basically what the Gemara is going to exclude. Okay, so again, we're learning out that it gives you the right to say that a klal, uprat, klal tells you that anything that's similar to the prat is included, and the Chachamim have the wherewithal to decide what that's including here. So we're saying that here, anything similar to bakar, tzan, yain, and shecher, which is basically they reproduce and they eat and or grow from the ground. Fine. That's what we're learning out. So the Gemara asks, Michti klal, uprat, klal, kein prat dainina. When you have a klal and a prat and then a klal, so then we said that it has to be similar to the prat. Klal maaser mayahani. Why do I need the last klal for? Just say klal uprat. Why did the Torah have to go back and repeat that you could buy with your maaser sheni money anything that you want? What is that gaining for us? What do you need it for? So Gemara answers, ahani la sufe kol damile. What it does is by making another rule, that's what tells us that it can be anything that is similar. Meaning, If it just said a klal uprat, then it would have to be specifically like that. Meaning, if all it said was the rule, you could buy whatever you want in with your money in Yerushalayim. And then it said behema, bakar, tzan, yayin, and shecha, then those are the four things that you would be able to buy, and that's it. By making another klal afterwards, it's telling you, no, it's not limited to those four. As long as it fits within the parameters of the similarities between those four, then you're allowed to buy it. So that's why adding a klal is different. So Gemara says, okay, besu prado klal uprat, keina prate ninan. And so when we have prado klal uprat, we say the same thing. It's like the prat. So prata basroi mayahani. Why do I need a prata basroi? Just do prado klal. So my answer is ila prata basra. If it wasn't for the last prat, havamina nasa klal moisif ala prat. You would say that no, you said specific things. Then you added another pasuk that said a blanket rule. That would come to broaden it. So therefore, it says another prat to tell you, no, don't broaden it too much. Fine. So now the Gemara asks the kasha that I don't know if this has been bothering everybody, but umichti, train klali uprati, who train prati uklala, right? Ke'ain prata dainina, meaning when you have two klals and one prat, meaning klal uprat uklal, or you have two prats and one klal, which is prat uklal uprat. We've basically been saying over the last block that they're exactly the same thing, right? A klal and a prat and a klal tells you that you only learn things out similar to a prat, right? And if you have a klal prat uklal uprat, then it's also the same thing. So again, mifti, train klali prati, train prati klali, kain prata danina. They're all doing it kain prati. Ma'ika beni beni. So what's the difference between the two? What's the difference between a klal prat klal or a prat klal prat? So ika, there is a difference. The ilu tartin klali prata, when it's klal, prat, and klal, ika prata the domile hafilu b'chad sad marbinon. If there's even one sad, then we're going to include it. Trey prati uklai, but when it says prat or klal or prat, ika prata the domi mishneit stadim marbinon b'chad sad lo marbinon. If it's similar in two ways, then it's considered similar. If it's not similar in two ways, it's not considered similar. Meaning, what it's saying is that klal or prat or klal is less accepting of similarities than prat or klal or prat. Right?
Isn't it? Aren't all these limudim like Allah Sinai? There's Shava, klal, prat, klal. What are they? Why
is it Allah Sinai? I don't think it's Allah Sinai. It's just the derech.
Why does limudim work?
Why do they work? That's what we're learning right now.
Said so.
Huh?
I know we say it every morning. Thank you.
No, but that's who gave us the right. Who gave the Chachamim the right to darshan the pesukim this way?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. That's who gave them. I don't know.
No, I'm saying why these
They put in order.
What?
There's obvious questions why the Torah says things certain ways. Chazal gave us 13 ways in which this is the reason why the Torah said it that way. But there's an obvious drasha from all of them. Why does the Torah say it like that?
So Rabbi Shmuel is saying that there's these 13 ways are ways which the Chazal are allowed to darshan the Torah?
Yes.
Not allowed to. That's the way the Chazal agreed would be the Seder to darshan the Torah.
I mean, are all these limudim logical? That's what it is.
Except for Gzeir Shava, they're all logical.
They are all logical?
I think so.
I think.
Okay.
Naftali, you have that art scroll thing? I have it somewhere in my house. Do they go through it? That art scroll, Hakdama to Shas? I don't know. Okay, whatever it is. But anyways, that's what the Chachamim say. So anyway, so what we're saying here, I mean, these are the in the next couple of you also have to have a lot of betachon for these gemaras because they're darshaning it seemingly whichever way they want, and then we're going to get into tam and tam ke'ikr, and who says that tam is ke'ikr, and all these kashrus things, which a lot of times to our little brains don't necessarily make any sense, right? So anyways, but we're saying now, the Gemara is saying that klal uprat klal is less forgiving than prat klal uprat. Meaning klal uprat klal, it has to be, I'm sorry, I said the opposite. Klal uprat klal is more forgiving, meaning it'll allow broader similarities. Prat klal uprat, it has to be much more specific, right? So the Mefarish says that if you're going to learn it as a klal uprat klal, then birds would be considered gedulei karka, right? Because they reproduce. I think that's what he means, right? Because they reproduce. But fish is only, they reproduce, but they don't eat anything from the ground. So therefore they're not included, right? But that's for prat klal uprat. But from klal uprat klal, then l'chayra they would be included because they have at least one of the similarities, right? Okay, fine. Then the Gemara says, "Michti prat klal nasa klal ma'aseh ala prat." When you say that there's a prat, meaning the Torah says specific things and then it says a rule, and we say the klal adds on to the prat. This Rabbi kol mili, and it'll include everything. Umuit v'riba nami riba hakol. When you have a miyut, if you're going to darshan it as a miyut, meaning it says a few things, and then it says a ribui, it's also coming to include this Rabbi kol mili. Okay, so ma'ikaben miyut v'riba prat klal. What's the difference between miyut and riba and prat klal? So what are the answers? And this turns the whole sugya on its head. Ika said there is a difference. The ilu prat klal marbinan afilu olin v'lulavin. If we would darshan prat klal, then it would include even branches of meaning. Again, we're going back to Nazir. We're trying to figure out what a Nazir is not allowed to have. So we had said that a Nazir, if you darshan klal or prat klal, you're not allowed to have the leaves and the grapevines. So marbina, so if you darshan prat klal, marbina afilu olin v'lulavin, you can include even olin and lulavin. Umiyat v'riba, but miyat and riba is lulavin in. It would include the lulavin, but olin loy, but not the branches. Right? Which is now saying different than before. Right? Before we had said if you hold a miyat and riba, then branches and grapevines are included. Right? So what happened here? So Taisus basically says that there's different types of branches. There's softer branches and there's harder branches, right? The softer branches are not included and the harder branches, the softer branches are included because they're more edible and the harder branches are not included because they're not edible, right? So that's basically what we end up with the sugya. Okay, we'll stop over here. So, but the main sugi that we have to know is that there's the rules of klal uprat klal are learned out from maaser. How you allowed to darshan is learned out from maaser sheni, or we learn out the whole rules of klal uprat klal from shomerim, and basically klal uprat klal and prat klal are pretty much the same things. Which is when you have a klal, two klalim and a prat, or two pratim and a klal, it basically tells you that anything similar to the prat, it doesn't have to specifically be the prat, but anything similar to it that fits under the guidelines that the Chachamim told us is what's included. Okay, tomorrow we get into kashrus, shiurim. It's too bad it's not shloshim yom before Pesach because it gets into the whole matzahs and wine and revius and kezayis and okay, Bez Hashem, fine. Everybody should have themselves a fine night. All right.
Oh yeah.
When are you leaving?
I'm leaving Wednesday night, Bez Hashem.
Oh, Wednesday.
All right.
So Wednesday shear is going to be early a little bit.
Possibly. Depends how nervous. Depends how